Gavin pulled into the parking lot of Prestige Motors, the high-end dealership he had just acquired in Scottsdale, Arizona. The desert sun reflected off the sleek cars on display, their polished surfaces gleaming under the bright sunlight. He parked his SUV at the back of the lot, choosing to blend in. Today, he was dressed casually, in a gray hoodie, worn jeans and sneakers, hoping to experience the dealership without anyone recognizing him as the new owner. Walking through the showroom doors, the cool air hit him, a welcome contrast to the blazing heat outside. The smell of fresh leather and wax lingered in the space, and the polished cars stood on display, each one more luxurious than the last. The staff immediately glanced in his direction, sizing him up. Gavin remained calm, continuing to observe them. Then Nadia appeared, the dealership's senior saleswoman. With sharp features and a perfectly tailored blazer, she looked the part of a professional, walking toward him with an air of authority. "Can I help you with something?" she asked, her tone cool and dismissive. Gavin offered a smile. "Just looking around." Nadia's eyes scanned his casual attire, an expression of skepticism creeping across her face. "Are you shopping for a car?" "Something like that," Gavin said, keeping his tone light. Nadia's lips pressed into a thin line. "Our cars start at 6 figures, so I'd recommend you look around and—" Before she could continue, another employee called out, "Nadia, the delivery's here." Nadia's attention wavered momentarily, but she quickly turned back to Gavin. With a small smirk, Gavin asked, "You're assuming I can't afford these cars?" Nadia stiffened. "I'm just trying to save you time." Her words, though polite, were laced with judgment. "These vehicles are for a very specific clientele. Perhaps a less expensive option might be more suitable?" Gavin raised an eyebrow but didn't respond. Instead, he walked toward a sleek silver coupe nearby. "Nice car," he said, admiring the smooth curves of the body. Nadia was still sizing him up. "It is. I can suggest a few vehicles for someone in your budget range," she said, her tone unyielding. Gavin glanced at the cars, then back at her. "I'd like to know more about that coupe, but you seem to have already made some assumptions about me." Nadia's smile faltered. "I'm just trying to be helpful," she said. "Perhaps I could suggest you visit a more appropriate dealership." Gavin took a step back, his hands in his pockets. "I think we're both here for the same reason, to see if we can make a sale. So let's cut to the chase." Nadia seemed slightly rattled but recovered quickly. "Maybe a pre-owned vehicle is more your style," she suggested, pulling out a list of used cars from her clipboard. "We have several options in that price range." Gavin took the list, but didn't look at it immediately. "Thanks for the suggestions. I'll keep these in mind," he said coolly. Nadia, not sensing Gavin's growing disinterest, continued with her pitch. "When you're ready to make a decision, we can set up an appointment with one of our consultants to assist you further." Gavin looked at her without speaking, his eyes thoughtful. Nadia shifted, clearly uncomfortable with the silence. "I'll just give them a call," Gavin said, taking out his phone. Nadia's confusion was evident. "Call who?" "The owner," Gavin replied casually, scrolling through his contacts. "I think they'll want to know I'm here." Nadia blinked in surprise. "The owner? You think the owner would care about someone like you just dropping by?" Gavin, now dialing the phone, glanced at her with a smile. "I'm sure the owner would appreciate the heads up. It's no trouble at all." Nadia's discomfort deepened as Gavin held the phone to his ear, her professional composure crumbling a bit more with each passing second. Gavin spoke briefly, his tone calm and steady, as if he were making a routine call. He hung up a moment later, slipping the phone back into his pocket. "They're on their way," Gavin said. "Shouldn't take long." Nadia's expression changed from disbelief to confusion. "Who did you just call?" Gavin's smirk remained, but there was an edge to it now. "The owner of the dealership," he said simply. Nadia's face went pale as she realized the situation. Wait, you're the owner? Gavin gave a short nod. That's right. Nice to meet you, Nadia. The air in the showroom shifted, the staff now watching the exchange with growing curiosity. Nadia, who had been dismissive only moments earlier, now struggled to maintain her professional demeanor. But you look, Nadia stammered, her words failing her. Different? Gavin finished for her, his tone still even. You wouldn't be the first to think that. Before Nadia could respond, the main doors of the dealership opened. A well-dressed man in a sharp navy suit walked in, his polished shoes clicking against the tile floor. He locked eyes with Gavin immediately and strode over. Mr. Davidson, the man said with a wide smile, extending his hand. So good to see you. Gavin returned the handshake, his demeanor as calm and composed as ever. Thanks for coming, Mark. The staff stood frozen in place, Nadia included, as the realization dawned on her. Gavin wasn't just another customer. He was the owner of the entire dealership. Mark, Gavin said with a glance at the staff, I think it's time we had a chat about a few things. Can we gather everyone in the conference room? Mark nodded, signaling for the staff to join them. As they shuffled out of the showroom, Nadia stayed rooted to the spot, her face flushed with embarrassment. Her forced politeness, her assumption that Gavin was nothing more than a casual visitor, now seemed like a glaring mistake. Gavin didn't acknowledge her as he walked toward the conference room, though his smile lingered, knowing full well what was unfolding behind him. The tension in the showroom was palpable. The ball was now in Nadia's court, and how she played it could determine her future at Prestige Motors. As the door clicked shut behind him, Gavin let out a quiet sigh of satisfaction. He had come to test the waters, to see how the dealership operated under the surface. What he found was a reflection of the business itself. Polished, high-end on the outside, but a little less refined once you scratched beneath the surface. Gavin was no stranger to power plays, and this one had worked out perfectly. Now, it was time to reshape things. Nadia and the rest of the staff would have to learn how to treat every customer with respect, no matter their appearance or background. And if they couldn't adjust to the new rules, they wouldn't have a place in his dealership.